Hey guys, and thank you for listening to the Campus Safety Voices podcast. My name is Amy Rock, and I am Senior Editor for Campus Safety. Each year, Campus Safety has a Director of the Year Awards program that recognizes K through 12, higher ed, and hospital police chiefs, security directors, emergency managers, or heads of security and/or public safety who demonstrate outstanding leadership skills, ingenuity, and selflessness. We name a winner from each sector at one of our campus safety conferences. The nomination materials we receive for each finalist are chock full of notable accomplishments. To give the finalists more deserved recognition, we like to chat with them further to highlight a few of their most impressive accomplishments or achievements they are especially proud of. One of the higher ed finalists is Doug Roberts, who is police chief at Missouri S&T in Rolla, Missouri. I spoke with Doug about innovative ways he has brought the campus community closer to its police officers, how technology played a role in building confidence in the police department, and how the department has worked to stay connected with the local first responder community. He also spoke about how his prior employment with the Secret Service has helped him in his current role. Here's our chat. Be sure to subscribe to Campus Safety's YouTube channel and like or leave a comment on our videos. Or subscribe to our Campus Safety Voices podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave a review. Thank you for speaking with me today. And you are police chief at Missouri University Science and Technology, which most people say Missouri S&T for brevity purposes. And you're also a campus safety director of the year finalist. And so looking through your nomination materials we received, unbeknownst to you, a big sticking point was the importance of campus community policing. And can you just speak to ways you have brought the campus community closer to your officers and the subsequent impact that has had?
Yeah, I don't know if I termed it, if I was the person that created the term campus community policing, but I know that community policing is a big model in law enforcement today. And being on a campus, I wanted to see if being able to transfer the community policing model to this campus. And so keys to that would be building the relationships between the community constituents. And you'll hear me say constituents a lot, and I say that all the time, so it's not just here. Bringing the constituents to confidence within our department, but more importantly, bringing them to our department in a day-to-day operation. So our department, and it's probably unique, not unique across the board with campuses, but we bring students into our department. When I started, we had just about 5 or 6 student employees. They're called CSOs. Every department calls them something different. Ours is campus service officers, but we call them CSOs for short. And we've expanded that program till we have about 45 students. And instead of just having a few, bringing that number in, that means we can enhance that and bring in students from our Greek organizations, bringing in students from our athletics programs, bringing in students that have no affiliation at all or just here to study. And we even have international students that are part of our CSO program. And so then you have an immediate relevancy within that student population. So that's community policing, bringing the students to being on a part of our department and the buy-in that provokes. When we make decisions, when we bring in technology, and I'll talk technology all day long if you want, but bringing in technology, bringing in new computer programs, bringing in new security and safety apparatus to our department, we involve our constituents in that mode as well, whether it's students, staff, or faculty. We bring them in and we show them the ideas that we're considering piloting on our campus, and then they help us decide what's the best program in their opinion. I ultimately make the decisions, typically with campus leadership blessing it off for budgetary considerations, but with the opinions of our constituents in hand, it gives them buy-in to the programs that we introduce to our campus. Those are keys to the campus constituency. And then offering programs that become more relevant, going out and we talked briefly when we introduced ourselves that I've got this uniform and I've got to get past this uniform to show people that we're here as humans too. You don't go into the field of law enforcement for pay. You go into it because you want to be servants to the society and the community that you serve. And I think every one of my team members wants to be a servant to this campus. They wouldn't be doing this if they didn't. And so we've got to find ways to show that. And so what we do is we get involved with the campus organizations on campus, and we help them with fundraising activities. We just had a fundraiser for St. Jude's with the fraternity last weekend. And then that was on Saturday. On Sunday, I was a speaker at the International Association dinner. I have a lot of partnerships and relationships with that community. This weekend, I've got the India Student Association asked me to speak at their dinner. We do just getting involved with that type of activities, helping with fundraisers, bringing in the students to our campus department, involving the campus community in our decision-making for technologies and security and safety tools. I think all of those things are relevant. Just being out there. I mean, we provide services that I'm not so sure that's all that in common in law enforcement anymore. Our department in our community is pretty small. I mean, we only have 10 officers. I wear a uniform and I answer calls too. But I think that we provide a service that might exceed the number of officers that we have. In our campus community, we're in a town called Rolla, Missouri, which is about an hour and a half out of St. Louis and about an hour and a half from Springfield, Missouri. So when I do presentations and I talk to our constituents, I call it the island of Rolla, because we're an hour away from a Chipotle and a Target. And I say it on the island, we look out for each other. And if you're a member of our constituency, if you're a student, staff, or faculty, and you're at Walmart or you're at the grocery store and you've locked your keys in your car, if you call our department, we're going to go to your location and we're going to unlock your car. If you need a jump start anywhere on the island, we're going to be there to help you out. All that's designed to get past this, to show them that we care about them and build the confidence. Because the goal is if we build up confidence at that basic level, when there's a problem, when there's something serious, then they're going to be much more likely to have confidence in us and get us involved early and understand that we can help them and that we're here to help them. And we're part of a crisis intervention teams in the community. Every one of the officers, including myself, is crisis intervention trained. I sit on a crisis intervention team for the community. I sit on a community the health center board. I'm part of the drug task force board here in the community. Getting out there, being involved, and then showing our relevance is very important to that community policing model as well. When I started here, officers seem to be dispatched out of the police station. I want officers out there. I want them visible, but I don't want them just in the patrol car. I think it's very important that officers engage with the constituency at just all the times, whether they're eating in the cafeteria with students or what. So we and every officer on my department, and me included, we walk campus for a couple of hours each day. We actually have to put it on our roll call sheets so that I see that they're doing it. And that way it forces engagement. And when I talk to the officers, I tell them, hey, when you see students, say hello to them. Talk to them about the weather. Just say hi. And then when I talk to student groups, I'll do a lot of conversations with Greek organizations or with other social groups. And I talk to them about the officers and how they're out there for them. And that when they see a police officer walking, to say hello to them. All that stuff, it just builds the relationships. And then when the officers see the acceptance, then they start to get excited about the job and they enjoy walking around talking with the students. It's all about the buy-in. When you get that kind of approach to it, and I firmly believe in it, I think you get better service.
Yeah. And
sorry, I told you I could talk about this stuff. I like what I'm doing. I'm passionate about the helping of the people on this campus, and I think it's a calling.
Absolutely. And you had said, going beyond the uniform, before this formal chat, you had said that you have them call you Chief Doug, or ask
Right.
students to call you that. And I think I talked to another Director of the Year finalist, and he had said how and I think a lot of, law enforcement groups, agencies are doing the same thing, where they're kind of loosening their requirements for facial hair, or you're a lot of places. Yeah. And that wasn't a thing before, but the community that you're serving wants to see themselves reflected in police officers. And if someone is looking so, clean shaved and hair buzz, they might seem unapproachable because they think, a stereotypical police officer look.
You bring up a good point, and it's also important to laugh at yourself a little bit. We do a cocoa with the popo on this campus, where I think probably a lot of departments have coffee or pizza with the students, but we just kind of added a fun name to it, and people see it and they laugh about it. I don't care if the laugh is what brings them to my table to talk to me, or it's the hot chocolate. It doesn't make any difference. It gives me an opportunity and gives my staff an opportunity to engage with somebody. We do a pie in the face event at the end of the year, just so the students can blow off steam. They raise enough money for our student emergency fund. They get to pie me in the face. I've sit on a teeter totter. I've sit on dunking booths. Again, it's all about getting out there. If you can sit in an office and you can manage a police department, and you can probably do it very effectively, but you're probably not going to enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think that's because I get out there, and I think the students see that in our department, and I think that's why we, I think, have a tremendously good relationship with our campus constituents. I mean, they know that we're out there all the time, not just when there's a problem. I mean, we've got to get past that. As law enforcement in general, we have to let people know that we care about them and we're here to help first. We make a lot of things teachable moments. We have a student affairs department where we may not take minor infractions to the criminal justice system. We may take them to our student affairs and let them sanction. And I think that also shows the students that it's not about always writing tickets and making arrests. Sometimes it's about connecting people with resources and getting them help in some cases.
Right. And a lot of times I feel like kids in college, it's a completely new environment. Sometimes they make dumb mistakes
Teachable
that
moments.
they'll learn from. And, if they're given a little bit of grace, then they'll, respect it a little bit more, I think. Obviously,
Don't
there's
get me
a
wrong,
fine line depending on it, but
sometimes we have people that absolutely beg to get involved in the criminal justice system, and we try to oblige those people too. But generally speaking, there's some really good teachable moments. We see a student walking down the street with a street sign, and we stop them, and we get to talk to them. We tell them how dumb the decision is and that they're making, and that they have to go take the sign back. And then we send a little report to student affairs, and they may have to write a 1,200-word essay, which, trust me, I'm on an engineering campus and they write a lot of papers. A 1,200-word essay is going to be much more effective in the deterrent mode than a $50 fine is, right?
Yep, absolutely. And you had mentioned earlier that you could talk about technology all day, and your nomination also had mentioned that technology has played a role in building confidence in your department. Can you just elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. When I started here, the school's called Missouri S&T, Science and Technology. The science was the technology, at least in the safety and security component, was interesting. There were a few beta cameras. I think that they were rogues. They had blue emergency phones, was probably the only security and safety tool that they had out there, other than officers patrolling. Even the doors to the campus were shut down at 4:30 in the afternoon, and you'd have to call the police to get an officer to respond. So now we've evolved to the point where we have about 384 security cameras. They're Vigilon cameras. They're amazing. They're searchable. We can, if you see somebody walking with a blue briefcase, we can search everybody. We're walking with a blue briefcase. The technology is amazing. They're all over the place, all in the public domains. There's no expectation of privacy to the location, so we're not invading people. We're not watching people. It's just monitoring the situations all across our campus and in the campus community area. When we identified those cameras, going back to the buy-in portion, bringing in people from our facilities department, bringing in our our emergency service, environmental services department, bringing in our student affairs, bringing in student government, bringing in faculty government, and showing them what we're trying to do, and introducing them to some of the programs that the camera programs that we're thinking about bringing in. We piloted them, and then we showed them results, and then they helped identify what the decision was going to be made of which one we were going to go to. Again, it just gives them buy-in. Hey, look at these cool cameras that we've introduced, and they've immediately and drastically given us dividends, not only on our department, because we've prevented a lot of crimes, we've prevented a lot of situations from happening, but we also, in addition to our department monitoring those cameras 24 hours a day. I mean, if you looked on my office, my desk, I have a monitor of all the cameras right next to this monitor. Police supervisors have access to all the cameras on their cell phones. And then, because our department dispatches out of a centralized 911 call center, I bought 2 TVs and shared the images of all of our cameras to the closest 911 call center. So when officers are dispatched to a call on campus, the dispatchers can relay pertinent information to those responding officers to let them know. So the cameras were very important. We have a mass notification system. Most departments on campus have mass notification systems. We use Rave as our system. I wanted to start looking at alternatives to blue emergency phones. I remember that they were state of the art back in the 80s when I was in college, and they were still here. I have a daughter who's college age. Most of the things that I do are what would I think I would want as a parent if my daughter was here. My daughter walks outside in snow with no shoes or socks on, but will have her cell phone with her. So I want to embrace the technology that my kid has, and that what all the other kids have here. And so they have a cell phone. So let's use the cell phone. Instead of running to a post and holding on to it and hoping that nothing happens to you, and pressing a button and waiting for a police officer to respond to that post, I would prefer to use a tool and enable the students to keep running if they're running from a problem and get someplace safe, educating them to what's open 24 hours. Our department's 24 hours now. The Rolla Police Department, their community law enforcement in our town, is on the other side of our campus, is open 20. We have service stations, we have residence halls, we even have a library that's open extended hours, places to go to be safe while contacting law enforcement. So we identified an application that's tied into our mass notification system called the Guardian. And we piloted it and we found that it was very beneficial to our campus. So we introduced it. My department, I pay for it out of my budget. And it enables the students to communicate with us with a button, a 2-button press. They can reach my department, 2-button press. They can go to the closest 911 call center, not to take away calling 911, but you can actually open that app up, press it once. It says, are you sure you want to call 911? And you can walk someplace. And if there's a problem, you can press it again. It goes to the closest 911 call center. And if your GPS is enabled, they'll see where you're at. You can text our department. If you don't know where you're at as a freshman, say, I don't know where I'm at. Can you help me? Tell me where I'm at. If your GPS is enabled, we can tell you where you're at and tell you where you need to go to. But more importantly, if you're in a situation where you can't call and you feel strong about getting law enforcement involved, you can text us and say, I need help. And law enforcement will respond to your location if that's what you need. Average response time from a text sent to a text received is 7 seconds. It's just a matter of the person in my operations desk reading it and responding back. It's very quick and it's amazing. So we have that. We have an opt-in feature. So if you're on our campus visiting or a vendor or even somebody that's doing work on our campus, we have the ability to give them the opportunity to get our mass notification messaging system by texting minor event to 78015. When you do that, you get our mass notification messages for 24 hours. So what's really important is when you see that at graduation or commencements or some of the larger sporting events that we host, everybody in the audience can get our mass notification messages. I mean, so in the spring and in the fall, we are in the Midwest, so we see tornado activity and we see severe thunderstorms. We can communicate to people what's going on and instructions on what to do using that service, and that's also proven very beneficial. We went from key access to buildings because keys disappear as employees transition, and we've gone to a more of a card access system where we have your photo of the person that's using it, and we can unlock or lock any building that's got card access and any door that's got card access from within our department. And then we tie that in with our camera system so we can see who it is at the door lock. And if it's somebody that's got access approvals, we can let them in if the door's locked. If we see a problem along campus on our cameras and it's walking towards a building, we can remotely lock a building. We have an annex to our local hospital that's university managed, and we have constituents in there. And there was a problem at the hospital, and we were able, as we were responding to the area to keep our location secure, we were able to secure all those outer doors to make them card access only, so employees were the only ones that could go in. Again, there's some amazing technology tools out there right now. We have a video that we filmed on our campus. Again, it goes to the buy-in. It's on the Run, Hide, Fight program of active shooter response. We filmed that actually on our campus using staff, faculty, and students as our actors. And we used our buildings because we wanted the thought of what to do to resonate. We wanted to show them this is what happens when we get an active shooter alert and you're in the Havner Center, our student dining hall. This is what happens if you're in an office. I mean, and we used actors and actresses, like I said, and that's gotten over 1 million hits on YouTube. I mean, again, it's just about using some of the technology that we have out there. I mean, social media is a technology that we use to promote our department and explain the things that we do. And again, we're such a small department, I get to manage that too, but it's a program that everyone uses. Parents are mostly on the Facebook, and so they get a lot of information out of that's helpful.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I could talk about technology for a while.
I appreciate it. First of all, I need editorial tips on getting 1 million views on a on a YouTube.
I don't, and it's weird too, because if you looked on the views, who's looking at it? We have other countries that have looked at our Run, Hide, Fight. and it may be for comical nature. I don't know. Maybe they're making fun of me. I don't know. I don't care.
Right.
Just getting people to watch it. It's not our program. Run, Hide, Fight was the city of Houston's idea, and they came up with that concept. And we just used the filming of it on our campus to get a resonation with our constituents, to show them that this is something we want you to think about at S&T. It's one thing to show a video that's a generic FEMA video, that's filmed in a stale environment. It's another thing to show you in one of our parking lots or one of our dining hall or in a building or a room, and we tailor it so that it's not just students, but it's also staff and faculty too, because they're important partners to us. They're a part of, again, constituency.
Mm-hmm. And going back, you had mentioned 911 call centers. How has your department worked to maintain relevance within the local first responder community, and how impactful has that been for your campus?
So I call it toy in the sandbox. I come up with little phrases like that. You saw that, obviously, but a toy in the sandbox. So what I want to play in the sandbox with the big boys and girls. And so I'm a campus department. I'm much more in need of assistance, right? Because we're a department that's within a city. So if I have a problem, I'm going to be calling for help. But what can I provide to my brothers and sisters in the community to show them that I have a value too, and that I'm not just needy, but I can provide some invaluable services. So one thing that a campus has is venues. So we host a lot of training opportunities for our campus. I have some background with the government, so I'm aware of some things that maybe are not out there as much, or people aren't looking as hard for it. But I have some great relationships with other federal agencies, including the FBI and the Secret Service. So I'm able to bring in tactical response training and use our campus buildings for that training. Because realistically, if we were to have an emergency on this campus, we would have a variety of law enforcement and first responders coming to this area. So it's important that the university police is not just training with university police, but we're also training with other law enforcement partners, because it's going to be an interesting response. And we all need to be training in the same way, especially with basic building clearance and active shooter response. So having venues, that was a start. We hosted the National Threat Assessment Seminar by the United States Secret Service, something that's very hard to secure. We were able to get that program in this area, and we had so many people that were showing interest in it that we actually had to turn people away. It was an amazing presentation and immediately showed our relevance in our community. Providing the law enforcement and the first responder areas when we had COVID, I had relationships with SEMA and FEMA, so I was able to secure some PPE equipment to give out to our brothers and sisters in law enforcement so that we can continue to do our jobs here. Again, showing relevance within the community. Providing the cameras and the security and safety tools that we have also benefits our law enforcement partners in our community as well by sharing those images with the local 911 call center. It provides a great deal of information as to what they're going into. And some of our cameras are even on common areas within the city, like a couple of major intersections, so that when there's situations, we can give information and possibly help locate and secure the criminal. Our department, our officers were all not only campus police officers, but we're the city police officers too. So we respond to calls for service that involve anything related to the campus, and including calls that might be at a private residence but involve a student. That also shows a relevance, and it's a benefit to our constituency. Goes back to community policing, because when we respond to a call for service at a residence or something that normally in normal situations a local police officer would respond to, but when we respond to assist them, then we might take over and be able to connect that individual with resources on campus that the local law enforcement agency may not be aware of, or may not have time to connect that with. We can spend more time with them and take more time to address the situation. That shows relevance. Helping out the local officers when there's calls for service and they're completely out of officers. We'll take on calls for service. Backing up local police officers on calls for service or on stops. Again, it just shows your value, and it shows your benefit. We were given an award by the local police department last year just because of the support that we've rendered. During COVID, we had a lot of cases within our community. We host quarterly tabletop exercises on this campus. A lot of campuses do, but we expound upon it, and I bring in outside entities like our hospital and our community health and our local police and fire officials. And again, it proved beneficial with COVID, because not too long before COVID initiated, we actually hosted a tabletop exercise on an epidemic of it was a flu epidemic. But the same players came into involvement. We had community health there, we had the hospital there, we had our student health, and so when COVID came on, we weren't exchanging business cards for the first time. We had a natural relationship that we depended on each other. We were helping out the health department and the local police department with hosting vaccine destination locations. We were getting PPE equipment. There was testing services that were needed. So I was connecting people personally. I was connecting like the sheriff's department with the hospital because I had relationships with both and they didn't. So I was connecting people to get resources back and forth. I'm part of a local COVID discussion group within the leadership with mayors and city managers here, and I manage the group, and we go over best practices, and I think it helped our community go through and resolve successfully through the COVID situation. We invite schools. I know I talk a lot, but we have schools on our COVID discussion to go over what's going on in the school districts. And one of the schools recently had a bomb threat, and it was at their high school. And the superintendent called me up and said, "Hey man, I've got a bomb threat. I need to get all my students out of this high school somewhere and put them someplace." And I said, "Send them over to our gym. I'll meet you there. I'll have a supply of law enforcement officers ready to take them in." And within 2 minutes, buses were taking students from the high school to our campus. Again, all those relationships were established during COVID. That's your relevance in your local first responder community. It also expounds upon your local community when you're talking about the hospital and the school districts too.
Yeah, I think a lot of higher education campuses almost have an obligation in a lot of ways to just be involved in the community because they have access to a lot of resources and even research that a lot of places don't. And if you're not sharing that knowledge as well, then you're
not doing a service. And
Yeah.
I may need the high school buses if I had to evacuate my community. We have these relationships. And so when I can show our relevance and our benefit in the community, then when I have a problem, those same people that I've been helping out are going to be much more likely to be here and be of support. And what can I do for you to help me out?
Mm-hmm. And now you personally, you have a significant background with the Secret Service. What is something that you've learned in those jobs that kind of helped you in your role?
Yeah, I retired as the assistant agent in charge at the Secret Service office in St. Louis. In that role, I was an electronic crime supervisor, so I knew a little bit about the cybercrime stuff. I also supervised investigations and a protective mission, and so St. Louis was my final resting spot within the agency. But I had offices all around the country, and I've served all around the world. 52 countries I think I've been to with the agency. So you gain a lot of experience. I mean, there's the natural ability to do threat assessments, to do advanced work, to do protection of venues and of individuals. That's all ingrained in the Secret Service. But at the core of the agencies is the building of the partnerships and the relationships. The Secret Service is a small federal agency. It's very, very dependent upon its relationships. Whether you're doing a criminal investigation and you form a task force with other agencies and other departments, and you come upon and you address the problem as a group, or you're doing a protective assignment in domestically or internationally, where you're bringing in the local resources and helping them secure a venue with personnel and assets. You're, as a Secret Service agent, you can't do all of that on your own. You're very dependent upon your partners. So the first thing you do as a Secret Service agent when you take on the role of a police chief at a campus is establish relationships, build those partnerships, improve your relevance in the local community, and then move forward. So I would say at the very core, the Secret Service taught me at the earliest point in my career the importance and the value of partnerships and relationships. The other part of it is the value of integrity. Your campus, your community has to understand that you're someone that can be trusted, and that your officers can be trusted, and they have to understand that you maintain a high level of integrity and that you're performing with excellence in mind. So what on the Secret Service credential, the last thing it says is worthy of trust and confidence. So that's our mantra as a Secret Service, worthy of trust and confidence. You'll see it on coins, you'll see it on badges, you'll see it all over the place. So as a mantra for my office here at the university, our mantra is partnerships, integrity, and excellence. I took on the integrity role from the Secret Service, the value of the partnerships in proving our benefit, and then striving for excellence. And so I think that I put stickers on every one of the vehicles that we have on our department. And I think I did that within a week to 2 weeks, because I wanted my officers to understand this is where we're at, this is where we're going to be, and everybody's going to know that this is what we are, just to get confidence in my team.
I feel like you had mentioned being to 50 plus countries. I feel like in policing that probably helps you to see that in different parts of the world, law enforcement play different roles, or might be viewed one way in one country and one way in another. And I'm sure you get international students even, so it kind of gives you a good perspective on like everyone's coming from different walks of life and different perspectives.
Thank you for bringing that up. Our international students we have a large international population of international students from all over the world. We have mining engineering, we have petroleum engineering, we have chemical engineering, all kinds of different engineering programs. And we have a lot of international students. And having traveled to a lot of the countries that are represented on this campus with students, I know what it's like to be in another country. And I know what it's like to rely on other people to make sure that I survive in those other countries, right? And so also know that a lot of the countries that are represented here, sometimes their law enforcement agencies aren't the most approachable. Sometimes it's a hostile relationship. So I've got to get past this again with them, but sometimes it's a double layer, right? So getting involved with the international student groups and attending their meetings and being there for them is very important. I mean, like I said, I get invited to all of these international groups and I go to them and I embrace that. I love their food. I love their cultures, and it's a lot of fun to engage with them. They're a vibrant group. They're very excited to be here. They want to explore, and we get to work with them. We have a couple of times a year, we'll actually host international student training days, where we'll show them, because when they have school breaks or the summertime, they'll want to travel around the country and see the United States. Well, they're going to be driving around in cars, so we teach them how to change a tire. We teach them how to jumpstart a car. And then we even put them in a police car and we show them what it's like to be stopped by a police officer, what to do, what not to do. And then we show that from the perspective of the person getting stopped. But then we also show them what the officer can see and what they can't see. And so why they may be asking for certain things. We show them what to put in the car, what kind of emergency supplies to have in the car, just so that then they that we're giving them some safety tools, but more importantly, we're showing them that we care about them. That we're building that relationship. And then going back to what I said at the beginning, bringing the international students onto our department so that they're part of our department. There's no mystique, it's transparency. They can see my cameras, they can come in. I love talking with the international. Again, I was a speaker at the International Student Organization meeting this last weekend, and I'm speaking at the India Student Association meeting this weekend. I speak at the English as a Second Language course. I talk to those students. Again, it's a lot of fun. And it's just rewarding to me. And I think it's rewarding to my entire team. I have to fight them off to do these presentations because they all want to do them too, because they're just a really enjoyable group of students.
Yeah, that's really neat. Sounds like you have so much free time on your hand.
Well, but I enjoy, I'm probably ADD. I can't sit still. And this is a good job for somebody like that.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be where I'm at. It's a good place. I've got good leadership here that are supportive of the law enforcement mission. And I've got an amazing staff of people that fully embrace the concepts that we're trying to bring on this campus. And I think then our campus community has confidence in what we do because my officers have confidence in what they do. So I don't know, I think that we're an important partner in this community. And I think people would tell you that.
Absolutely. And we can end with, if you had to pick one accomplishment you are most proud of, it doesn't necessarily need to be something tangible, like added X amount of security cameras out. What would it be for you?
So I would probably go with the introduction of really good technology to campus, together with the building of the relationships between the campus department and the campus constituents. I think all that's led to everything else. I think when you add all the technology and you get your officers confident in what they're doing, that leads to the confidence of the campus community, which expands itself into the community that we serve outside of our campus walls. I think all of that's the dominoes. I think the first two dominoes are your technology and your confidence. And I think after that, they're all going to fall. So I like to think that my training with the Secret Service helped with the technology component and helped with the partnerships and the relationships component. And I hope that is what helped lead to the confidence that my officers have in each other. And then I like to think that the confidence my officers had in the technology, I think that built the confidence in our community. Does that make sense? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I've been covering this industry editorially for 5 years now, so I'm pretty new to it comparatively. And I would say the overall overwhelming consensus is that it's all about relationships. You can't do anything on your own. You can't do anything effectively on your own. And like you said, just building those relationships is just so important.
And you got to have patience. A lot of what on a campus, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk to people and you tell them what you're wanting to do, and you're clear with your mission, and you involve the campus in your mission, and you show the value of what your end product's going to be, I think that you're going to be pretty successful. Sometimes it doesn't go at the pace that I want it to go to, but I'm probably blessed more than other places are, and that once I think the campus I think they had confidence in me because of where I came from. I think that got me an immediate level of, okay, here's a former Secret Service agent. But if you don't do it right, within a month, they're going to peek behind the curtain and see that the Great Oz doesn't know what he's doing. So it's very important that I go with what I'm doing, and that I am not just a guy that sits behind a desk and does what I think is, or says what I want to do and doesn't follow through with it. I know there's, I don't wear a sports coat. I wear a uniform, and I wear a big cover vest every day. And it's because that's what my officers wear. It's very important for me to be as uncomfortable or comfortable as my officers are. You can't lead from here. And especially on a department like this, they have to see me standing out in the rain, directing traffic, me answering the calls for service with them, me working midnights. I come in and work midnights. I come in and work evenings because it's important. Sometimes it's to cover a shift because we're down staff too, but it's also very important that I am at every level and that they see that I value what they do. I need to retain staff. Retainment in law enforcement is a very big challenge right now. So I've got to be creative with the methods that I use to show my staff that I appreciate them and keep them. Keeping talent. I mean, I'm in a small community. We have 4 law enforcement agencies in this community: a highway patrol, a county sheriff department, a city department, and my department. So when there's vacancies, it's oftentimes one department's pulling another officer from another department. And I don't want to be that department where I'm getting robbed of talent. So I've got to do stuff, be creative. Wearing the uniform of my officers and being out there with them is a helpful tool in the retention period.
Yeah. Well, I think that that impact shows in that, people nominated you for Director of the Year, thinking
that blew me away. I'll tell you, I would like to say director of an amazing team. I would prefer that's what anything that says it, because it's any chief that tells you it's them, they're dreaming. It's not, it's the team. And whether it's my ticket writer or my administrative staff or my operations officers or my police officers, it's a very strong team, and the team makes it successful. And then when you expound on that and you bring in your student workers and the constituents on your campus that you serve, and your community, all of that is the team, and that's the reason why you're successful. If they don't have confidence in you, if they don't have confidence in themselves, you're sunk.